Some years ago, I remember making a video in which I shared the items that I think are useless. And I sincerely do not remember at all what I said in that video, but last night I had a random thought about it again. And I felt like some of these were things that I hadn't really considered before. So I thought, I guess I would make a part two, but I would instead phrase it as unnecessary inventions. But this unnecessary invention to me is going to be more from a this invention is dumb kind of perspective. The first one that I can think of is tanning beds. Tanning to me is something that of course has never appealed to me because I think that I already naturally have a little bit of a tan going on. And even for the folks who are very, very pale, I always felt bad that individuals like that could feel compelled to get a tan, considering that tanning can be so harmful for you. It's literally cooking your skin. It's going to make you age faster, and depending on your skin type, that may leave you with irritation. And I just don't see the point of voluntarily going inside this bin in which you have like the sun's rays hitting you. You might as well at least go outside. And if you go outside, sure, you cannot be 100% naked roaming outside, but at least you can interact with the outdoors and possibly even get some exercise while you're at it. But to me, just getting in a bed to get shot at with UV rays, it never made sense. It's an unnecessary invention. Now, prior to filming this, I did not look this up, but I have never heard of there being any benefits to tanning beds. It's definitely not nutritious. It's definitely not going to just give you anything, give you any advantages. It's not a skincare kind of thing. So why would you do that? And the second dumbest invention that I can think of is going to kind of tie in with tanning beds in a weird way, and that is cigarettes. I think that smoking is absolutely stupid. It's dumb. It doesn't make you look hot. To me, it's not a status symbol, and you guys know that status and titles do not have an effect on me. A cigarette literally has no benefits either. It's not nutritious. It only brings you harm. It makes you age faster as well. The tanning bed, I see it as a dumb invention because it's something that exacerbates physical problems. The cigarette is another thing that I look at exacerbates physical issues. Some people may find that relaxing. I'll never know because I've never smoked and I never will. But I think that maybe you're associating that habit making you busy with the mannerism and the act of smoking. That is what's distracting you from the stressor or whatever it is that you're trying to get your mind out of. Just like excessively drinking, I like to look at it as you're sending your mind to hell as opposed to maybe coping with the matter a little differently. So with the cigarette, I looked at it the same way. I thought, well, if this is a coping mechanism, if it's something that you do either for fun or to get your mind off things, why isn't there something else that doesn't affect the rest of us? Because anytime someone smoked, I can't hang out around that. It affects me. It leaves me all stuffy and sounding much worse than I sound right now. I am not even the direct smoker and I'm experiencing the consequences. When you light one of those things up, it's nothing but harm coming to you and coming to those around you and your pets. Nobody thinks about the dogs and cats that may live with smokers and how they too may develop lung issues. Just like the tanning bed, I don't see it being beneficial in any way. Anything that's not really beneficial, I'll always see it as a stupid invention. Now, this one is no secret that I'm not a fanatic of, for I never use it myself, but I think that makeup is another dumb invention. But I think that makeup is cool and justified in the arts, if you're in theater or if you're shooting a movie, if you're trying to have an effect. If you're trying to take the shape of something or someone else temporarily. But that daily habit of applying makeup on, to me, it's incredibly stupid. Because have you guys ever observed how when someone who has used makeup for a long time, they wash their face always looks bad underneath? It's like pale and irritated looking. It's just worse than your naturally recurring skin. And sometimes I feel bad that in an effort to conceal flaws, the way I see makeup used in excess is you are trying to fix something that didn't necessarily need fixing, but now it's costing you something else. Now you depend on makeup because if you don't wear it, now your skin naturally has a sickly look to it. That weird paleness and washed out look that it has. So now you're completely trapped in that cycle, and now you absolutely cannot step out without the makeup because it's just off. Your face will look paler than the rest of you. And I'm not saying that to be a bully or to be mean. It's I have eyes and I see the difference, and I just don't see how what you're doing is good for you. And this is one that I never thought I would say, but when I think about it critically, jewelry is also a dumb invention because it's just you're wearing things on you that shine or maybe load you up. It's kind of like walls. You can put up pictures and decorate it to get rid of that plain appearance. But in the grand scheme of things, if anything, jewels can be a hazard. And that's why at many jobs they say that nothing is allowed except for a smooth ring. And sometimes when I'm at work and I happen to have the earrings that I like to wear, which are the dangly ones, sometimes they get tangled with my telephone cord, or if I'm using one of those little radios, the microphone and the earpiece are attached, and then I have to wear it and it gets tangled in there. And if I have to wear that and my mask and the earrings, it does get messy. It does get tangled sometimes. If anything, it's a hazard, just like having long nails. Fake nails was something that I was going to include on this list, but I decided not to, only because for some people who genuinely damage their natural nails, I can look at putting fake nails over it as a protective layer to whatever you may have left of your natural nails. And with makeup, I can understand if someone is wearing it to try to conceal something that may be a little shocking for some people to look at. If someone has a really, really deep scar or something, you might want to conceal that if it's particularly shocking. But for day-to-day use, I find that useless. And then finally, I believe I have mentioned this before. It's possible that it was in that video that I said earlier, I made years ago. The visor hat. Nobody will ever convince me that hat is practical. Because, okay, it's covering this, producing shade on this area of the face, but yet you have the top of your head exposed to the sun. And I get it, it's supposed to help with sweat, but I find that sweat is best mitigated depending on what kind of hat you're wearing. And even if I have a hat, I try to not be directly under the sun for prolonged periods of time. Trees are going to be my best friends. But if you're out in like a sporting event, I always think that the full baseball cap is just the best way to go. And it's just easy to give it a lift, let some air circulate, and put it back on. But with the visor, I think the point of the visor is getting rid of that step. It's getting rid of the need of lifting the hat to cool you down. But at the same time, you're feeling the sun right there, right on top of your head. How is that any more comfortable? I would rather at least have that shade over my head and just occasionally lift it and let some air circulate. But at least it's giving me a little bit more protection. Maybe the bad thing would be for prolonged periods of time, all that sweat is probably going to harbor bacteria. But again, I think the visor is always going to be the dumbest hat out there. Well, there you guys have it. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I thought I would share those random thoughts since they just hit me out of nowhere and see what you guys have to say. Maybe you guys know of inventions that are super, super dumb. This is definitely not an all inclusive list. These were the ones that immediately came to mind. But if I think of any more or see any more, I'll make sure to do a follow up.